Who's that? All right. This was one of those weeks, nothing came to me till the last minute. And even still, it took a long time to put together, because once it started coming, it didn't want to stop. Typical of always. But given the time, the season, everything going on in our area and in other areas, I figured we would talk about occult. You guys know what occult is? Occult. O-C-C-U-L-T. The occult. You ever heard that before? TV shows, any of that?
Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah, blue. So what is a cult? This is going to be very interactive, please.
Somebody has a follower that's misleading them, and they follow them no matter what.
That's a cult. What's occult?
Oh,
Witchcrafty tops.
The occult. Yeah. Satanism, kind of.
Witchcraft.
So occult, the creepy stuff that people want to say it's goth. It's not goth. Like, it crosses the line. Goth's more like the Black Styles and sad because, you know, they can't save the world even though they want to. Occult is more when that gets really weird and more spiritual. So the occult, in the broadest sense, is a category of supernatural beliefs and practices which generally fall outside the scope of religion and science. So it's more fringed, encompassing such phenomena involving otherworldly agency as mysticism. You heard of mysticism before? The mystics. Spirituality and magic. I know you've heard of magic before. So some examples of occult. Occult. You have things like weird, dark candlelit rituals over bones, blood sacrifices. A lot of secrecy goes into it, a lot of weirdness. Why does a lot of secrecy, you think, go into the occult?
They don't want to be found out.
They don't want to be found out, but why?
Because what they're doing is evil. They don't want to be exposed for the evil.
Because if you've seen somebody sacrificing animals in a parking lot, you'd kind of be a little bit wary and probably go arrest them and get them in trouble, right? So it's very creepy and it's very weird for different reasons. Those are the major examples of occult. What are some minor examples?
Astrology.
That's major. Yeah, what zodiac sign are you? You know that means absolutely nothing, right? Like you're going to be mad because you're an Aquarius. What is that even? What is that talking about? What if something cool happens to you that month? Oh, I wish I could be happy, but Geminis. It's kind of silly, right? What about tarot cards?
Witchcraft.
Tarot cards. Y'all ever heard of tarot cards?
Witchcraft.
What about magic crystal balls? See your future in them. Ooh. What about Ouija boards?
Dude, bad news. Stay away from that.
Y'all don't like Ouija boards? Why? You don't want to talk to your dead relatives in heaven? They're just waiting for you to write letters on a board and move it around? Okay. So what are some biblical examples of occult? Occult. 2 Kings. And they left all the commandments of their Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, maybe bohemian, maybe not, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. Very important. And worshipped what? What was before that?
The stars, the moon.
All the hosts of heaven. Everything. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire. What does that mean? What is it referring to here when it says passing through fire?
Say they're walking on it or throwing their kids in it. Probably throwing their kids in it.
Yeah.
Child sacrifice. Yes, that's what it's talking about. By fire. And use divination. What is divination? The entities, using the divine to gain insight. and enchantments. What's enchantment? Why is it different? One gives you insight. The other you use to manipulate others around you, maybe from using that insight. And sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. Baal. 2 Kings goes on. Manasseh, whatever, the king guy. Manasseh. 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hephzibah. And he built altars for all the host of heaven in the 2 courts of the house of the Lord. Built them in the house of the Lord. And he made his son pass through the fire. Sacrificed his son. And observed times. What does it mean, observed times? Does it mean like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. Are we practicing the occult?
Astrology.
More astrology. Oh, it's the time of the dragon. It's the time of this. Different signs and different times. Kind of like the Farmer's Almanac, but a little more fringy. Occult, we'll say. And used enchantments and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. Did y'all know wizards were in the Bible? Wizards. They're exactly what you think, too. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. Both. Provoke to anger, provoke to anger. So what's the difference between, we talked about occult, now what is a cult?
Moonies.
It's an offshoot of Christianity.
Could be.
They're supposedly good.
Cults. What are cults?
It's a way of life led by some charismatic leader.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
In modern English, a cult is a social group that is defined by its unusual religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs and by its common interest in a particular personality, object, or goal.
Yeah.
Most of these are personality. But they do have objects or goals in mind. So what are some examples of cults? How many of you have heard of the Branch Davidians?
Waco, Texas.
Y'all are probably a little bit too young for it, although there is a new Netflix show that came out on it. But Branch Davidians were led by, in the end, this man named David Koresh.
Yeah.
So he was a very charismatic guy, used music, did a bunch of stuff, very culty stuff that are typical of all of them. Nobody was allowed to be married there but him. And later on, he took on the burden of sin himself to have all the children for the Branch Davidians. What a burden he took on himself, right? Took everybody's. But people went along with it. They went along with it, and it grew and grew and got big, and the government got involved and did probably the worst organized and just most embarrassing, operation ever in history of it. There's the ATF, by the way. And they burned down the thing. So while normally you're like, oh, it was a cult, it should be burned down. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But they burned it down with kids and everybody in it. Right. Killed a whole bunch of different people. So is that how you handle cults? No. Right. What about Scientology? How many of you have heard of Scientology? Yep. You ever heard of Scientology? Yep. You heard of Tom Cruise?
Yep. John Travolta, too.
Yeah. John Travolta?
Yep.
Scientologist.
Yep.
So when asked why, somebody did a documentary on it. They said because Tom Cruise is a Scientologist, he has literal human slaves. So you go to his mansion, he has people that will stand around him and do whatever he says, whenever he says it. Why? Because they need him, because he's famous for it. They need to say, look, we're legitimate. We have a famous actor in our group. And in turn, he's got human slaves, basically is what it is. But it was started by a guy named L. Ron Hubbard, who was a fiction writer for years before, I guess, God spoke to him and told him a whole new religion and everything. They have Thetans, and everybody came from a different planet. They were fleeing this alien named Xenu, and then they got over here and dropped all the spirits of all the other aliens from all the other different planets, dropped them in a volcano, but then they were all frozen, and then the spirits got out and started getting into the life here on Earth, and that's made you. It's really what they believe, not exaggerating it.
And burn the book, Dianetics.
Yep, Scientology. But A lot of money, very well funded. A lot of people go to it. How many of you have heard of Heaven's Gate?
Oh, yeah.
Heaven's Gate. So Heaven's Gate was started by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. And they decided, well, we don't want to have a Waco situation, and we're not getting as much money as the Scientologists, even though it wasn't around yet. So we'll just kill ourselves. We're going to heaven because there are two planets or two spaceships that are hiding behind the moon so nobody can see them. And all we got to do to get up there and live on them forever is to kill ourselves. So they put on Nike shoes for some reason. And all put on the same amount of clothes. Kept $5.75 in their pocket for the coroner's fee and the quarters for the... How do I explain this to you kids? Payphones, you know what a payphone is? Used to be there wasn't cell phones, and if you were like out and about with your friends, like the mall or something, and you needed to call somebody, you couldn't just go find a phone at somebody's house. But they had phones there you just drop quarters into, and you could use them, dial them, call them like phone booths, like No. What's the show?
Superman. Oh,
no, the show.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, yeah, the phone booth. That's what he did all his stuff in. And so they did all that, and they killed themselves to get to these planets. Not only did they kill themselves, they did it one by one. So when one killed himself and died, and they killed themselves by poisoning themselves and then putting plastic bags over their heads so they would suffocate peacefully, kind of, without feeling it. And then the next person, after he put that person, positioned him right in the bed, it was his turn, so he would do it, and so on and so on and so on, until we got to the last person. I don't know if they chickened out or not. I don't remember what happened to the last person. I think they actually did it. But, yeah, so some people believe in cults so much that they will kill themselves, even after watching everyone else kill it. But sometimes you're in a hurry, and you don't have time to do that one person at a time. So who's heard of the People's Temple? The People's Temple, yep. So this guy, Jim Jones, looks like a... Should I say this or not? He looks like a 80s Pentecostal preacher. It's just the look, the swooped hair and the glasses and, strong face. And very charismatic, got a lot of people to follow him, gave up everything, moved down to Jonesville or Jonesboro or somewhere. And he gave them all Kool-Aid. Have you ever heard the term, don't drink the Kool-Aid? That's where this comes from. You know why it comes from this? Because he gave all them Kool-Aid, and it was poisoned, and they all died. And so with him, he was like, if I can't have all these people, neither can anybody else. So, don't drink the Kool-Aid. So those are some examples of cults. What are biblical examples? In Acts. But there was a certain man called Simon, which before time in the same city used sorcery and bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that himself was some great one. I am taught to God. I'm from God. Look, magic tricks. Woo! And they were like, hey, you must be from God or you would be able to do these tricks and these stuff. Divination. He would probably tell them their fortunes. He would probably do minor acts of different things, predict things that were coming to pass, use tarot cards and lay out somebody's future for them. And so they thought there has to be some power to this, and they're not wrong. There is a power to it, and it all is very real. It's not like Harry Potter real, where you're not going to make things levitate with the magic wand or anything. But every time you go to court, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Why do they do that? Before anything else that happens in the court, you are sworn to an oath to God. And every time you swear that oath, you make an admittance or subject to the fact that there is a God. So in doing that, it's about time you start making an admittance that if there's a God, there are also demons and devils, like the Bible talks about there too. It's time to start acknowledging that. To whom they all gave heed from the least to the greatest, rich and poor, saying, this man is the great power of God. And to him they had regard because of a long time he had bewitched them with sorceries. So that's how these people come into it. They see somebody with power, they just see something different and something behind all these movements that they go towards. Anybody knows what happened to him?
He got saved.
The real power came about, and he was like, okay. So he had to bend the knee to it. What about Nebuchadnezzar? Anybody heard of him? So Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits. How much is 60?
60.
Yes. 60 is what? No, 60 is what?
60.
I meant score is what? Sorry. 20. Yep. Good. You pay attention to trivia. And the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura and in the province of Babylon. Then the king said, everybody, judges, treasurers, counselors, captains, governors, sheriffs, all the rulers, you're going to come and you're going to bow down and worship this statue. And he said, don't do it until I start playing music and all of that stuff. And then you'll fall down and worship it. But there were 3 dudes that were like, this seems kind of culty. I don't think we're going to follow that. He was like, oh yeah, you're not going to follow it? And they said, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. What does that mean?
They respected him, but they still weren't going to go along with him.
No, they're saying they're not careful. Like, we are careful to answer this. You are a great, awesome king. But no, they were like, listen, we're not going to do this. Sorry, it just is what it is. We're not doing it. Do what you got to do. And if it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from this burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king. Like Eric said, they were respectful, but not careful. They're like, listen, God's God. You're king, but check yourself. And that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and cast them into a burning furnace. What happened in the furnace? Did they burn up? How many people were in it?
4.
Why another one?
Jesus, probably.
Is it witchcraft? Is it sorcery? Was there a wizard in there protecting him?
No.
It's above that, right? It was a little bit more than that. So, what is a religion? And what's the difference?
System of beliefs.
Why isn't the Branch Davidians a system of beliefs? Because they're a cult, but other ones aren't. This is where the line gets a little bit weird for some people. But a religion is a social cultural system, similar to a cult, of designated behaviors and practices, morals, beliefs, worldviews, texts, sanctified places, prophecies, ethics, organizations that relates to humanity, supernatural, transcendental, and spiritual elements. However, there is no scholarly consensus over what precisely constitutes a religion. So they don't really have a super good definition. What's the difference between religion and a cult? You want to know the true definition? The size of it. When it gets to a certain size, now you're just a religion. You're not a cult anymore. And that's it. That's how they determine it. And it comes from the Greek word threshkia, from a derivative of ceremonial observance, religion, worshiping. So it's more so the system of how you do it and not actually the thing itself. So what are examples of some religions? We have Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Taoism, Buddhism. You know, all the isms, a whole bunch of them. I don't know.
Star Molech's got you messed up there.
Yeah, I know, right? Shouldn't have showed it. Dang. I might not have unplugged my thing.
There you go.
Might have been your remote.
Yeah. So the largest religious groups worldwide, you have the red is Christianity. So don't be too scared, because we got everybody kind of squeezed into a ball here. But you also have the Buddhists, not really folk religions anywhere too much. Hindus are pretty big in your more southern Asia areas. The Jews are right there, the little dot, that's right there. Muslims are in the green, and then unaffiliated is going to be
China.
Yeah, China. So we'll get to that. So examples, what is this one?
Buddhist monks.
How do you know that?
The way they're dressed.
Yep, because of the way they're dressed and some of the things they do. They sit under a tree that was called Nirvana when Buddha met it after leaving 3 wives and a bunch of kids. And doing a bunch of different jobs, and then he just went and sat under a tree, and boom, prophet forever. Because he sat under a tree and didn't want to leave. Also, I see this a lot. A lot of girls, a lot of women, like high school girls, are like, oh, I do yoga and stuff. I want to be Buddhist or peace, Buddhism. You know, they'll say things like, what is it? Namaste. You know what namaste means? Hello. So they're like, oh, hello everyone, peace, namaste. They're like, you're just saying hello in their language. It's not even really the religious thing. But did you also know in Buddhism that women can never achieve nirvana and are lesser subject beings than men and will never be equal to men? They're strictly to make babies for men, and that is it in Buddhism. That's why you don't see any girl monks. Curveball, yoga chicks. Keep being Buddhist. What about this one? Islam? Y'all jumped on that one pretty quick.
Yeah.
How'd you know it was Islam?
Mecca.
It was Mecca, not because of the
That too.
the Star Wars women. So they kind of have to do that. Afghanistan also, women are back under burqas and can't go to school, can't do any of that anymore. They tried, but they were really just waiting until everybody was away to it, so they can do whatever they want. Let freedom ring. Examples. What is this one? Hinduism. What's the difference in Hinduism and Buddhism?
The number of gods.
The number of gods. Yeah, Buddhism's got like one dude who turned into a god. Hinduism's got
Thousands.
yeah, lots and lots of them. Hindus throw a nice little twist on it because they're like, oh, everything is Hinduism. Like, well, what about Buddhism? It's another version of Krishna. He came to them in the form of Buddha because that's how he could reach those people. What about Jesus? It's another form of Krishna, but that's how he appeared to those people so they would worship him and follow him. Like, yeah, that's a cop-out. But so they're like, oh, it's all Hinduism. Well, what about let's be Hindus and dress our kids up, boys in makeup and girls and all that, and paint them blue, put crowns on their heads and all that. Is that weird? We want to do that here? We'll see. Halloween. See what your kids look like. What is this one? Judaism, yeah. So you got different kinds. You got the big fuzzy hat ones. And then you have your little small hat ones. And then you have the ones that killed Jesus, lest we forget. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what they both kind of come from. So what are some biblical examples? There are religions in the Bible. So this is Paul talking in Acts, which knew me from the beginning, if they would testify that after the most straightest sect of our religion, I lived a Pharisee. Which religion is he talking about? For ye have heard of my conversion in the time past in the Jews' religion. How that beyond measure I persecuted the church of God and wasted it, and profited in the Jews' religion above many my equal in mine own nation, being more exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my fathers. So it's the same religion that they're kind of talking about today. But he doesn't say, oh, to my God or any of that, or he doesn't even call it a church. He just says my religion. So in my ways of practice, in my ways of belief, in my ways of acting, my ways of dressing, my ways of doing certain things systematically, I profited above many my equal. The religion is the process of how you follow something, not necessarily what that is. So Buddhism is the worship of Buddha. It's just named after it. The ism means how you do it. You get what I'm saying? So Buddhism is not Buddha. It is the worship of Buddha and the lifestyle of Buddha and how you do that. Judaism of the Jews, Christianity of Christ, and how we do that. So if any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. The way he does things, it's not saying that God's not real because a dude can't keep his tongue bridled. It's just saying the process and the way he follows his God is vain because he's not doing it in the right way. That makes his religion vain. The way he follows it. Pure religion, purely the way you follow God, and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless, a good act, how you're supposed to act. And widows in their affliction, how you worship God by helping the fatherless, helping the widows. And to keep himself unspotted from the world. And also, don't be like those other guys over there. Don't be like those other guys over there. So what is anti-religion?
Atheist.
Humanism.
Humanism. Atheist. Secularism.
Yeah, you would think it's just, they just don't believe in nothing. Oh no, they're a religion. They're just anti-religion, if that makes sense. So anti-religion is opposition to religion of any kind and thus becoming a religion themselves and nullifying their very own logic.
That's true.
It involves opposition to organized religion, religious practices, or religious institutions. The term anti-religion has also been used to describe opposition to specific forms of supernatural worship or practice, whether organized or not. So, examples. What would this one be? Gosh, they love this image.
Coexist.
No. They're anti-religion. Don't live equally with them.
Like mystics or something.
No, it's just atheism. We're smarter and above
I see.
all the different religions and churches and all of that. We think about stars. They think about gods in them and stuff. We know that we came from a little bacteria floating out of nothing, and then boom, now there's something and everything. And over billions and billions of years, it made a little worm-like thing, and then that turned into a fish kind of, and it crawled up. But don't believe in God. That's perfectly acceptable and not crazy at all. But God, come on, put your head above the clouds for a minute. First off, you don't even know what a planet is or what it's made of, and there's no possible way to. You say, this planet's made 90% of alcohol. Okay. So is my grass that I feed my cows. It's made out of cheese. The moon's made of cheese. That was made to make fun of stuff like this, to kind of poke it out. Prove me wrong then. We got moon rocks. What's it made of? How do you know it's not cheese that dried up over your billions and billions of years? You can say anything at this point. You can twist it to make anything fit. And that's where they'll get you at. They're unrooted, is what you can call it. What about these guys?
Karl Marx, Lenin, and Stalin.
Yep. Not picking on the Russians, but it started there. So Karl Marx didn't believe in any kind of God. He believed in what? People. People in himself. And he said if we all stop believing in God or believing in anything but ourselves, we can start building and make a society where everyone can hold hands and kumbaya for forever. And this guy in the middle, Lenin, was like, I got an idea with that one. If I can get everybody to believe that, I'll be the one that started it. And I can convince everyone to live equally, except for me, because I'll be the one who decides how equally they get to live with each other. And it's very, very poor. And then Stalin was like, I got that idea, and it sounds great. But I'm going to do it by brute force. I'm going to kill you if you don't like it. Also, fun fact, a lot of you guys might not know this. This picture, it's a real picture. When Lenin died, he never really made Stalin his successor. He just put Stalin, because he helped him take over, in a position of deciding jobs for everybody. You're the person who gets to do, you're the Darth Vader, I'll be the Emperor. I'll have the big direction, you make it happen. But then Lenin died, and on accident, he didn't make a successor or any of that, so Stalin's like, alright, I'll step right up and take this place, because I already have it in place. I have all my goonies, my gangs, my gulags. I have it all to sit up and take power. But I want to take power, and I want to really take it. I want to be bigger and better than Lenin. And so in this picture, what did they do? They made Stalin bigger and better. He had the original picture. He had Lenin with wrinkles and shade put in. He had the image of himself blown up to be bigger and wider than Lenin. And he also had the smoothing effect and wider light on his face to make him appear younger. One of the first ever Photoshop pictures to make him look bigger and badder than Lenin after he was dead to take over. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
So it's all about the image with him. You don't need a religion. I'm your religion. That's what he was saying. So what does God say about all of that? When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. If you go into somebody's yard or they come into yours, there shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his sons or daughters to pass through the fire. Obviously, don't burn your kids. Don't sacrifice your kids. God says not to, so you're good. Or that useth divination. Don't try to use divine, prophecy through ways. and all of that. I'm not saying you can't use prophecy or that prophecy isn't used for good in some senses in the Bible, but divination is more so. You're getting these from spirits that aren't God that you're telling it. Or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. Literally says witch in the Bible, and it's exactly what it's talking about. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. Y'all ready for a hard to swallow pill with that one? What's a necromancer? Somebody who raised people from the dead?
No.
Do you think if they weren't real, it would have been said right there to don't mingle with them?
Oh, gosh. Gross.
You don't think that people have risen people from the dead before? In a bad sense? Why would it say that if not? For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. Don't do any of that. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearken unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God has not suffered thee to do so. So don't go to people who are trying to tell you everything that's going to happen and all of your future and everything. That's hurting Christianity really bad right now. People going prophet flocking. And those prophets aren't even making good prophecies. Their prophecies are falling through left and right. But still people are like, cut him some slack. Or he just missed it by a little bit. Where'd he get it from? He didn't miss it. Something missed it and gave it to him for a little bit. What's he following that made him miss it? God also says in Isaiah, Thus saith the Lord thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb, I am the Lord that make all things, that stretcheth forth from the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. This is God saying, this is mine, okay? Don't get it. Let's not get this twisted. That frustrateth the tokens of the liars, and maketh diviners mad. Makes them crazy. Why does he make diviners crazy? Because they'll get a dream. Oh, the dream felt so real. It was so real. It was like God was telling me that. And Trump's definitely winning this election because of this dream. And then he didn't. And now they're like, why would I have that dream then? God's making you mad because you're reaching for powers that you enter in as a trespasser, is what it's saying. And turneth wise men backward. I'm so wise because I know all these great and mighty things, and I know because I am so wise and close to God. Trump's going to be president in 2022. Now you're backwards because, nope, now Biden's president. You missed it by a lot. As if it wasn't bad enough. And maketh their knowledge foolish. What did you know? I know. I have it from a pretty high source in the Pentagon. It's a pretty high source in D.C. Trump's got the election in 2020. No, he didn't. So your knowledge is foolish. What you know was wrong. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. But what I do, that I will do, that I may cut off occasion from them which desire occasion, that therewith they glory, they may be found, even as we. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. It means of course they're going to do these things, because even Satan himself can make wicked seem so appealing. So like Harry Potter, for example. Dude, I watched those movies. I burned those movies up. I'd watch them every year at Halloween for a long time, back to back over like 2 days. Why did I do that? Because it was neat. It was appealing. Did I ever think I could make stuff float with a magic wand? No. But there's just something that draws people to the mystic, the magic. Because you're like, what if it was real? Or just something compelling about it. Something, what am I trying to say? Something that just really makes you want to watch it. Yeah, it's supernatural, but what's drawing you to that? What's making it so interesting to watch? Why is that different from history? You know what I mean? Why do I not care much about certain history, but a lot about this? Because what did it say here? And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. That is why they want to do what they want to do, and that they may cut off occasion from them which desire occasion. What's the occasion that's desired that's coming up? Halloween. Do they cut off from that? Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness. So if Satan can turn into an angel of light, don't think those that follow him can't seem really appealing too, and can't make really appealing stuff to go out for, whose end shall be according to their works. You're the one that's going to have to answer for all of that. You want it, you got it. He also says, quench not the spirit, despise not prophesying, prove all things, hold fast that which is good, abstain from all appearance of evil. And the very God of peace sanctify you wholly, and I pray God, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Faithful is he that calleth you, who also will do it. Who will actually read that and do it. So, I've talked a little bit about this last year. Abstain from all appearance of evil. Well, it's just for the kids and they want to have fun. Some of y'all will dress up and go out. I get it. It's fun. I used to dress up as Halloween right now. My man's got a Special Forces jacket on back there. I don't know if you know what that patch was. That's what it is. You dress up as army or something. But do you have to dress up as dead little kids? Or dead skeletons and witches? Or demons and devils? To go out and have fun on Halloween with your costume? Why can't you be something that's not? That's even close. That's even cutting it close. I won't lie. But it's a lot better than doing something just purely in the presence of evil. You can't even look at it and be like, oh, he's a Lego character. Or, oh, that's a devil. You see the difference there? So if you're going to at least compromise and meet me halfway, you don't want to go the full way, just don't dress up like a demon. Don't dress up like a devil or a witch or any of that. Abstain from the appearance of evil. And then in Isaiah, and this is my favorite thing to talk about with the people of those, because Isaiah kind of gets mad and, like Paul, sarcastic, kind of smart-alecky to them. It says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments. Now that God's fire is coming down, now use your enchantments. And with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If it be so, thou shalt be able to profit. If so, maybe thou wilt prevail. It's like, hey, now use your sorcery. See how good it does you. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers and stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, stand up and save thee from the things that shall come upon thee. Call upon your mystics now. What's the tarot cards say are about to happen to you? What does the crystal ball say to you right now? Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. The power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Antoine LaVey. Anybody know this guy? Founder of the Church of Satan. He founded it. Antoine LaVey, the head Satanist guy ever, said, I'm glad that Christian parents let their children worship the devil at least one night out of the year. You heard it from the mouth itself. So, just be different. If you're going to do it, be different. Don't give in to the customs or the schools or the parties or the church parking lots that are having trunk or treat with the evil witchcraft potions and all that. Stand firm. Get strong again. Get hard again. Be a super Christian. Be a real Christian. Embrace the tradition. Reject modernity. We are with God and not Halloween and stuff and cults. That's all I got.
Very good.
All right. Any questions? Turn